got a phone call from a mad Israeli producer I've worked with before who had actually gone through the Peter Stark program over at USC. It's the prestigious film program over at USC. And he said, I really don't know anything about the script. I haven't read it. He says, all I know is that they're a really nice bunch of guys, and it's a low-budget film, and I know your wife is going to kill me for putting this call through here, but that's all I know, and so take it from there. So Sean Cavell, one of the producers, I think he might have called me up, and we just talked over the phone about what they were trying to do, and so I was kind of a little bit on burnout with doing kind of very micro-budgeted films, but but they sounded really nice, and they said it was a comedy, and I had actually really wanted to work on a comedy for a while, and most of my other films, Cast Blade and some other films that I think were being shown at some men's correctional facilities or POW camps, I don't know where, but I hung up the phone, and I think literally about 10 minutes later, I went to my front porch to check the mail, and there were some young dudes standing out there looking frozen, holding a script in his hand. I don't know if they had been circling my house for like the past 2 weeks or something, but I went to take the script, and he had sort of like this death grip on the script. I said, this is kind of where you let go, and he still kind of was standing there after I took the script from him. I said, you realize I'm not going to read this while you're here, right? So I read the script, and I just laughed out loud. I mean, it was just, I think it was almost this cathartic release because I had wanted to work on a comedy for so long, and every script that I work on that is below $1 million has to be exposed to my wife, who is the script sort of dungeon master there. So if it gets past her, I'm okay. And she went upstairs that night and read it and was just laughing hysterically. I mean, she said, did you notice anything kind of really unusual about this? And I said, no. She says, this is the cleanest script I've ever read before. And I said, what do you mean clean? She says, there's no profanity. It's not it's just good, wholesome fun,
I'm just getting really just kind of T.O.
Dang, sicko.
Dang it.
Gosh.
Jeez. Your mom goes to college.
Jared had a short list, and my other producers had a short list of some actors that they had wanted to pursue that were a little bit more kind of highfalutin, a little bit more elevated name-wise. So concurrently, while I was doing the physical auditions, we took those shots, basically, and nothing came back. It was only about 2 or 3 actors I think we tried that with, and then I kind of went home one night and I said, you know what, this is not that kind of movie. This is you don't want to be impressed in Idaho and seeing some really recognizable actor walking down the street, past a llama or whatever it is. It was incongruent to what the script was and to who John Heder was, and it was kind of a more of a preemptive intervention, casting intervention. I did this, and I said, guys, I don't think this is that kind of movie. It's if you don't need to have name actors, let's just go for what the truth is about this film and the script. And as an example of that is John Grice, who plays Uncle Rico in the movie.
I said the 12-pack, not the 24-pack. We're just gonna have to mix and match.
Shut up, say so the whole world can hear.
Well, put it back.
And I knew John personally, and I had cast him in another movie I'd worked on the year before. And so when I read the script, when I read Napoleon, I just thought of John immediately. I just had that visceral reaction and take on it, and kind of waited. I sort of strategically waited, and in the casting office, I coincidentally happened to be working on the Fox lot, was the director had a picture of John up on the wall. And it was quite fortuitous there, and so no one asked who is this guy or anything like that, and I just waited one day, and I said, guys, we're running out of time, and I'm telling you, John's the guy. So I just put I happened to have his little tape in there. I put the tape in there. I think Jared and the other guys watched about 2 minutes and said, "That's it. You know, that's Uncle Rico."
Napoleon, this is Pedro. Would you mind showing him where his locker is?
There were a lot of young Latino actors that come in, and they would give interesting interpretations of it and readings of it, but a lot of times there was like this energy that was really not what this character was. I mean, he saw this character as being from Juarez, Mexico, and it's very kind of flattened, almost staccato kind of like speech pattern.
Well, when I came home from school, my head started to get really hot, so I drank some cold water, but it didn't do nothing.
And Ephraim like walked in, kind of did his interpretation of it, and Jared gave him, I think, like one direction, and broke out into the voice of Pedro, and Ephraim just looked at him, and I wasn't sure whether he was going to get it or not, and Pedro was like born, I mean, in that room.
So we'll get you to slate your name first, and then we'll dive in.
Efren Antonio Ramirez de la Cruz. Here's my whole name. All right.
Hey, where you been?
I got sick.
How come?
Wow. 2 days ago, my cousin was having a birthday party. And then they had all this food. So I started to eat this taco with lots of meat. And it was like a carne asada taco.
It's like you're almost always, you're hardly ever that
Up there.
animated up there. You're never like, hey, you're just very kind of to yourself and kind of soft-spoken. And
Hey, where you been?
I got sick.
Well, how come?
2 days ago, I went to my cousin's birthday party. And they had lots of food there. So I started to eat a taco with lots of meat. And it was like a carne asada taco.
It was like, it's something you don't really encounter that often. A lot of times in the audition process, it's something so raw, and again, if it's close enough, or maybe it's not the finished product, obviously, and that's something that will happen on the film set. But in some particular cases, I saw these characters being born, and it was bizarre. It just felt like a very kind of surreal experience to see that.
Hello. Would you like to look like this?
A gaping chasm opened up between the first choice and the next choice. There was like no second choices, and that's when I knew we were kind of on some almost sort of some rarefied space there. There was something on some cosmic level that was going on.
There's just so many options.
Like when Tina Majorino walked in, same thing. We had been looking for the Deb character for a while. No one had really even gotten close to it, you know.
You slate your name.
yeah.
I'm Tina Majorino.
Okay. Okay, read it with me.
Okay, turn your head more on a slant. Okay, perfect. Now, make a fist and kind of use it slowly underneath your chin. There you go. This is looking really good.
Say that again.
And she came in, and I mean, she's such a smart actress, and like she was so disciplined and so grounded as an actress that she heard Jared's direction, and even though she had her interpretation was in another place, she just brought herself like into that moment and heard it and delivered the performance.
Cool. Well, let's do the other stuff too.
Okay, good stuff.
And I remember Jared was so excited because like Tina, that role was like kind of like the emotional kind of anchor in the piece in a lot of ways, and so it was really integral to find the right Deb. Sandy Martin, I have a friendship with, and I remember Jared would say, I'm kind of looking for someone kind of with like mullet hair, and I said stop right there, and I showed the tape to Jared, and he said, once again, he said, that great, and I had Sandy come in, and she literally came in for about 5 minutes, and the guys seemed kind of nervous, I thought maybe they didn't like her or something, and then think, I don't know, Jared just like said, so you want to do this? Like,
Yeah, you know, and you can really feed everything more over to Napoleon.
Okay.
and she said, yeah, and she loved working with younger filmmakers and everything. So I think that was, she's there for a short amount of time, but I know it just kind of the seismic aftershock of like, working in the film, like so many people came up to her just for the quesadilla moments. I mean, it's such an often quoted kind of line there, pretty memorable.
Knock it off, Napoleon. Make yourself a dang quesadilla.
Fine.
See you tomorrow.
Jared, I think, had been living with these characters for so long in his head, and I think he's a rare breed of director. I mean, during the auditions with the actors, Jared would do something that a lot of times maybe actors would kind of recoil over, but Jared would give line readings. I mean, basically, I think almost to exercise the voices in his head, because he would do Deb, he would do Uncle Rico, he was doing LaFonda, he just would break out. It was almost like some multiple personality disorder,
Nate, let me borrow 50 cents so I can get a pop.
Looks like a medieval warrior.
Looks like a medieval warrior.
Yeah.
But I'm making some sweet moolah.
Again, these characters were so vibrant and so real in his head that I think it was a gift to the actors there, because he was so clear about what he wanted. They created this world, this other world, this parallel reality that you haven't seen before, and the paradox to it is like that it's had such universal themes for people, and that's why the movie became so popular. And I think they were so young that they just didn't anticipate their failures the way most other filmmakers do. I mean, they were just, it was this almost childlike, unbridled excitement about making a movie, having a play date and going out and doing this. And so it was completely infectious, and all my years of accumulated angst and neuroses there was no room for it there. They just, it was just this pure vacuum we were working in.